Hey everybody, this is going to be a video on adding and subtracting polynomials, and believe it or not, you probably have done adding polynomials already, because adding or combining polynomials is essentially the same as just combining like terms. Remember, addition and combining are just basically same as just simplifying into the most simple terms that you have, so you don't have anything else that you don't need to add. So how is adding polynomials different than combining like terms? And how is that different than subtracting? So you can see on my screen I have addition and subtraction. The only thing that's different between these two is your addition sign and my subtraction sign. That's all. And plus the different terms, obviously. So how is this one different? A lot of students ask me, well, what do I do with the brackets when you have your add sign, or how do I get rid of the brackets? Well, it's actually quite simple for addition. Anytime you have a positive sign in front of a bracket, you can just get rid of the brackets by not writing it. So there is not a positive sign in front of this bracket, but there's an invisible sort of sign, because if this were to be negative, then it would be a negative sign. But since there's no signs, it's positive. So we can just get rid of the brackets by just rewriting whatever's inside the brackets. And what about this one? Well, since there is a positive sign there, well, we can just write this exactly the same. So this is going to be positive 2x, and this is going to be positive 4. Okay, so after that, that's exactly the same as combining like terms. So if I were to look at this, combining like terms, well, what are my like terms? My 3x is a like term. That is exactly the same as my 2x. What other like terms do I have? Well, even though I have numbers, these constants are also my like terms. So those are my like terms. And when I'm combining my like terms, let me just kind of change the color here. Uh-oh, purple might not work that well. Let's do blue. Oh, maybe blue won't be that great. We should have a lighter color. Let's just use it yellow. 3x, 2x, basically that's 3 plus 2, which is 5x. If you use algebra tiles, then you should have 3 of the rectangle shapes and then 2 of the rectangle shapes, and then combine them, you will have 5 rectangular shapes, which is 5x. And then lastly, you're going to add your constant, which is going to be 2 plus 4, which is plus 6. So you notice that I combined these to get to 5x, and I combined the 2 and the 4 to get to 6. That's combining like terms, and that's adding polynomials. Basically, it's exactly the same. So how is that different than subtracting polynomials? Well, subtracting is a little bit tricky. You can see that here we have a subtraction sign, and then there's the brackets. Remember, from adding polynomials, we just got rid of the brackets by just erasing them, just not writing the brackets. We can't really do that for subtracting. The trick here we have to do is we can do two things. We can change that negative sign to add. So change to add or addition. And then everything after that in the brackets have to be opposite. So these ones will be opposite signs. So this is one way of looking at this, and I'll show you another way. So this is negative, so I'll change it to positive. Everything inside this one has to be changed, this one has to be changed, this one has to be changed in the opposite. So this x squared is a positive x squared, so it changes into a negative x squared. This is positive, so it changes into negative. That's negative, we'll change that to a positive. For the first bracket, however, there are no negative signs in front, so we just can get rid of the brackets just by writing everything inside. Just keep it in all the same. So I know that this can be kind of confusing. Maybe the second method will be easier for you, or maybe this method will work for you. To summarize, you just change this negative to positive, and then change everything after that sign to the opposite. So looking at this is 3x squared minus 2x plus 2, and then since this is positive, I can get rid of the brackets by, let me change colors, having the same signs. So negative x squared, negative 3x plus 4, and then now we can collect the like terms, which is what we've been doing a lot. So x squared is a like term, minus x squared is a like term, so this is going to be my 2x squared. And then negative 2x, negative 3x, that's going to be negative 5x. They're both negatives. And then we have positive 2, positive 4, which is positive 6. Looking at this, it doesn't really help you if you forget the rules, which means that if you forget to change the add and change the positive, it gets kind of confusing. So here's another way of looking at this. Here, I'll give you another question. Let me get a good color pen. So if we start off with a bracket, so let's say 2x squared minus 5x plus 1, and then we're going to subtract, and then 1x squared plus 2x plus 3. Let's try that. Okay, you notice that we have two brackets and a negative sign. So how do I get rid of this? I know you're probably getting a little bit tired of this. Another way of looking at this is just the same as negative on the outside and a negative with the bracket. Remember, these two negative times a negative would make it a positive 1, right? Or if you look at this, it would be negative times a negative. Whoop, too many things. It will give you a positive. Let me rewrite that. Negative times a negative will give you a positive. If we look at this, in order to get rid of the brackets, this negative, well, there's an invisible 1 here. This negative 1 is going to be multiplied to this, it's going to be multiplied to this, and it's going to be multiplied to this. So the reason why we changed to the opposite sign is because the negative times this will be your negative x squared. Your negative 1 outside times the positive 2x will be negative 2x. And lastly, the negative 1 down here times the positive 3 will be negative 3. That's the reason why all these signs change into the opposites, because of that negative. Why don't we change the signs to the opposite for a positive number? Well, because in front of here there's a positive 1. Positive times this is still going to be exactly the same. It's just 1 times anything. Positive 1 times negative 5x would be negative 5x, and positive 1 times 1 is positive 1. So in this way, it might help you to understand, oh yeah, because I'm distributing this charge, this sign to every one of these ones, that's why I get opposite signs. And lastly, you can combine the like terms by just saying that this is a like term with this, so 2x subtract x squared, 2x squared subtract x squared is 1x squared. Negative 5x, negative 2x is negative 7x, and positive 1, well, let me just double circle this one, and negative 3, that's negative 2. Okay, so here are two different ways of subtracting polynomials. I know it's not as clear as adding polynomials. The best way I think this works for me is that you look at the negative sign and you distribute the sign, as in multiply the first one, multiply the second one, multiply the third one, and then write that into your next step. The key thing is really simplifying the steps. Don't try to get the same one answer from right off the bat. You want to break it down to step 1, step 2, and then finally your final answer. Or if you want to memorize a little technique, you just have to change it to your addition sign, which is change the negative to add, and then everything after that has to be the opposite sign. So there's two different methods of subtracting polynomials. So I'll do a practice question one in the next video, and then hopefully you can get some practice and this will be helpful for you. So I'll see you next time.